Hello everybody and welcome back to Fighting Games Unedited. It's been a bit, but I was trying to think of a good topic to go over, and this one is probably one of the most relevant things that you're ever going to come into contact with in fighting games, and that's the plateau. We're going to be talking about moving upwards instead of staying still, and what I mean by that is that there will be a point in your competitive lifetime in which you hit a wall. It's called a wall. There are many names for it. The wall, the plateau, just kind of stagnation. There's a bunch of words for it. I use the plateau because I think it's a better analogy than a wall, because a wall implies that you're not moving. With a plateau is a straight surface. And so when you plateau, you're not necessarily stopping your training. You keep going, but you're not improving at all. You're not moving up. There's not a wall in your way. You're just not advancing upwards. There's a difference. And when you experience this plateau, there's going to be a lot of things that you do right. There's going to be a lot of things that you do wrong. But in general, you are stuck going forward and not up. And that's what you have to change. This will happen usually when you are trying your hardest. And that's why it's a very discouraging thing to encounter, because you just don't get what to do. The things that you shouldn't be doing are stuff like giving up, stuff like, losing sight of what you're trying to do. Because sometimes you'll get these delusions of, I want to, I want to beat the best player in my scene right now. And while that is something that you can accomplish later on, you're not going to be able to accomplish that right now. And if you beat yourself up for not being able to do it right now, you're never going to get to that point. So you don't want to be like, oh, I should be beating the top players right now. If you're not, then you're doing something wrong, and you have to acknowledge that. You also just don't want to become complacent. You don't want to just sit in your one spot and go, oh, okay, I'm okay, and then get angry when you don't improve. You have to keep going. You have to keep moving. You have to keep advancing. How do you beat this shit? Right? How do you beat this thing? How do you get through this flat line of you just walking forward and never really going above anything? Again, like I said, change. Change is so important when it comes to beating the plateau. I think this is the most important thing that you need to keep in mind, is the fact that you need to change what you're doing. What you're doing right now, it's not working. Stop thinking that it's working. Stop thinking that stop thinking that you need to just kind of, keep doing it and you need to do it harder. No. You need to do, at the intensity that you're doing this right now, you need to do other things. You need to change what you're doing. Change how you look at your sets. Change how you play your game. Change how you look at certain tools. Change how you look at certain matchups, how you look at fighting certain players. Change how your defense looks, how your offense looks. Just change. It's super important, because what you're doing right now isn't working, and while that doesn't necessarily mean all of the things that you are doing are wrong, you need to put yourself into other situations to learn more things to add to that already relatively solid game plan that you had before you changed. You can go back to this solid game plan up here, but you need to break off of it for a moment in order to learn new things. It's like breaking your muscle to make it stronger. It's going to feel like it's failing for a bit. But when you learn more things, you can start taking the things that you see are working and put them into your original game plan, and then create a more solid foundation in general. You also need to make sure that you are motivated. This is so hard at this very particular moment, because the fact that you need to change and the fact that you're going to start losing a lot more will make you feel like, what's the point? You need to not think of that. You are training. You are trying to learn. When you learn, you're going to get questions wrong. You're going to get answers wrong. Like, you're not going to do the right thing all the time, and that's okay. You are learning, okay, this isn't the thing I should be doing. This is a thing I should be doing. Sometimes that's as simple as trying it once and going, nope, that sucked. And there's also trying it over the course of a very long set, multiple long sets, working out the kinks of certain ideas in matchups. There's so much that goes into changing that you're not going to get it right the first time. And that's okay. You just have to keep that in mind, because if you don't keep that in mind, you're going to body yourself mentally, and then you're not going to move anywhere, and you're going to get stuck back on the plateau. You also need to make sure you keep it interesting. If you are not interested in what you are doing, so aka playing the game, you're not going to want to do it. And you can do something so much that you feel like you hate it, but still be interested in it. There's a difference between fun and interest. You should be having fun. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying don't have fun. But there will be moments when you are doing this where you are not having fun. You are not experiencing some form of fun when you are breaking down your mental state in the game to try and find new stuff to do. Once you start going upwards again, you might start having fun again. Or maybe even you find it fun to try new things and fail and then keep doing it. That's great too. Just make sure that you are interested. Because you can be interested in stuff that you hate. People are interested in stuff they hate all the time. And I'm not saying play games that you hate. What I'm saying is you're going to hate this process. But just make sure it's an interesting process to hate. If that makes sense. If it doesn't, feel free to ask clarifying questions if you're confused. But keep your interest high. Make sure you are interested in what you are doing. The closing thoughts of this whole thing, and the thing that I really want to drive home, I kind of ranted on about that last point a lot, but the first point is the most important one, and that's changing things. You have to, and I repeat, have to. If you do not do this, you are going to fail. That's not up for debate. You are going to fail. If you become stagnant, and you just keep doing the same thing over and over again, you are performing the dictionary definition of insanity, and you are not going to get anywhere. You have to change what you are doing. Change how you look at things. Change how you do things. Ask people about certain things, do you think this thing that I do is good? Do you think this thing I do is bad? What do you think are my strengths, my weaknesses? Ask people that you play a lot. Ask people a plethora of questions. The worst thing that they're going to do is not answer you. That's not really that bad of a thing. If they don't like the fact that you're trying to improve, screw that guy. Who cares? You want to be changing. And not changing entirely. You're going to take your game plan that you have up here that works some of the time, but there's just a few moments where it doesn't. And you can look at those a few moments. You can even look at the moments where it does work and say, okay, how can I improve these bits? There's so much that goes into playing a fighting game that changing what you do is a process. It is not a moment. You have to keep going through that process, or you're just gonna suck. Or you're gonna feel like you suck, even if you don't suck. You have to change. That is the point. Because if you just keep walking in a straight line, you never go up. The only way that you go up is if you change your direction to up. And I know that sounds corny, but that's literally how it works. You have to change what you are doing, even for a moment, lose a little bit more, to gather more information. You are gathering information. That is what you are doing. And then when you have gathered information, you go back to your original game plan with the improvements that you have made and see how that works. Sometimes your original game plan also just straight up doesn't work. And that is something that is a little harder to swallow, but you have to also be able to acknowledge that. This game plan that I'm using just sucks. That's okay. Don't get discouraged by that. Find a new game plan. Find out what you need to be doing instead. The thing that I am stressing super hard, though, is change. And not permanent change necessarily, like I said, but just doing things differently to get new outlooks on certain areas of gameplay, and then you just get better. It's just what happens. That's really all I have to say. The topic is very complicated, but I can't say much in general because it's really just one word: change. The specifics of your situation are what determines, maybe a more detailed breakdown of what your problem is. But it's just change, really, is all I have to say. I keep saying that word, but it's really important that you change. With that, though, that's really all I have to say on this situation. And if you have any questions, sorry for the pause. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. Hit me up on Twitter, whatever. Just find me, talk to me. I'll most likely answer. If you haven't followed me on Twitter, Twitch, subscribe to me here on YouTube, just do that if you would. If you like the content, if you want to see more of it. I do analysis on Twitch. I do nonsense on Twitter, but you'll be able to keep up with some of the fighting game related nonsense anyway. Without further ado, though, that's really the video, and I hope you enjoyed it.